Okay, go ahead, Brother Amir.
Udi Billah Minashan and Shaitan Regime, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka Na'budu, Iyaka Nasta'in, Adina Saratona Mustaqim, Saratona Adina Amta Alayhim, Gabriel Magdubi Alayhim, Walado. Amen. I just want to add on that if I cannot thank God enough, I want to thank God, Allah, subhanahu Allah, for raising up in our midst a teacher in America. So I'm calling him the master teacher. I just call him the messenger of God, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because it's, I'm here in West Africa right now, and I tell the people that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the person that's responsible for bringing Islam to America and bringing us back to the Sunnah of Muhammad. So I want to greet everybody that's listening live on the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Brother Amir. Assalamu alaikum.
I think we should just do one thing, because if anybody listens to this tape, they should at least know what he said. So he said he seek refuge in Allah against the enemy of God and man, with the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Praise be to Allah, the cherished and sustainer of all the worlds, most gracious, most merciful, master of day of judgment. They alone do we worship. Thy aid do we seek, show us the straight way, the way of those you bestowed your favors upon, and not the ones you brought your wrath down upon, and nor the ones who go astray. Amen. Go ahead, Brother Joe.
Amen.
Thank you, Brother Shaheed. You always keep me on point, brother. I surely appreciate that. I'm so eager to get to the meat and potatoes and everything. I'm skipping over the appetizers. So thank you so very much. So brothers and sisters, my name is Brother Ajuma Muhammad. I will be the program facilitator today. So I want to kind of go over just a few ground rules. Number one, thank you. I want to extend a hearty welcome to you. Welcome. I want to say that our goal here today is to kind of create awareness, not kind of create awareness, but to create awareness through education and community dialogue, followed by decisive action. I want to set the tone today. I want to show you a short little video. It's about 3.5 minutes long. I want to read the Brown Man's Burden poem to you. And the way we even came to even having this meeting is that we have a student on the Zoom call today who was from St. Louis University who experienced some hardcore racism directly in his face. And he wants to come and talk about that and speak on that. And his mother's on the line as well. And we also have another parent on the line who experienced some hardcore racism that our son underwent 3.5 years ago at St. Louis University. So we want to kind of create some dialogue and get some understanding. So I'm just going to read this flyer real quick. You are here at the forum called Race Matters, Race, Religion, and Racism in Secondary Education. Today is June 23rd, 2022. The program today will start at 6 p.m. and end at 8 o'clock p.m. You're cordially invited to participate in a community-wide discussion on the Brown Man's Burden poem and other historical writings that are currently being taught in the area schools throughout the St. Louis metropolitan area. Emphasis in this Zoom discussion will be on whether or not such literature is helpful or harmful, along with being traumatizing to Black students who are expected to learn these poems with the constant use of the word nigger in it. Question, is the poem still relevant and appropriate for Black students to learn, particularly when they are the minority in white majority classrooms? Why is CRT, critical race theory, banned in most schools throughout America? And poems like The Brown Man's Burden and books like The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn still being taught in most American schools? So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I want to show you a quick, short video, real quick. Check this out.
Schools try to avoid talking about race as much as they possibly can. So I know that throughout like elementary and middle school, the only time that we talked about race was when we talked about like the Civil Rights Movement or the Civil War or Black History Month. But we never talked about like the intersection of race and so many other things like in our society.
The only times we actually get to learn about Black history is when Black History Month it comes around.
We don't talk about what goes on today in history. We don't talk about it in none of these classes. We're taught stuff that they want us to be learned.
We're not seeing the successes of people who look like us. We're only seeing like the oppression, which is important to talk about, but it's also important for us to see like ourselves as people who can succeed, to know like I can do this and I'm worthy.
How can you have a white perspective on more of a Black experience? So, and then only have 5 Black kids to talk about their Black experience if we're reading books about slavery or racism or anything about Black people. Because, and then it's just like assumed that Black people have like they all have the same opinion. So it's more one-sided.
In DC history, I remember learning a lot about not just with slavery, but even with how much the culture of DC was affected by Black people. Was covered a lot in DC history, which some people don't know.
From what I recall, I don't really have like a discussion in school that I can really remember in my classes, which is kind of disheartening because it's like race shouldn't, in my opinion, race shouldn't just be only talked about when there's a huge problem that has come up in our society.
If you choose like a certain club to talk about different things, to me, I like the politics club. When we go in and talk about politics and world news, so in there we might have some conversation about race, Black History Month, politics, and everything in that nature.
This is the small sliver of Black history that we talk about, and so let's read this book because it kind of fits into that. And I think what I'm waiting for is for a teacher to like have us read a really controversial book about Black history, have us read a really controversial Black author that we don't want to read in school because it's centered in whiteness and we're scared to do that. Like, I'm waiting for that moment.
And we're talking about race in class, and the teacher just letting us talk and cleaning us up and filling us with new information, not only from them, but our classmates as well, and letting everyone speak. I think that was a perfect way to address it. And also, you know, the teachers that I've had a great conversation in class with, they always make sure that it's a safe space.
For that week, every Black student came up with a lesson plan, and then they taught the class about like what they did. So it could either about like music, cultural appropriation, and just like a whole bunch of like different varieties of stuff. And I just thought that was really cool and impactful because that really takes the whole meaning on like the student becoming the teacher, because that not only engages the class, that not only engages the student, but that's a really memorable moment because that right there, even though my teacher may not have realized it, she gave a whole bunch of students a voice that may not have had that voice had she not done that.
My teacher, who was white, she made it known that she wouldn't be knowledgeable about everything that goes on and what happens like through history for Black people and like what happens now. Like she understood, and that she wouldn't understand racism and discrimination like some of her students would.
You know, I think schools are doing their students a disservice if we're letting students graduate and not like understand the basic principles of diversity and inclusion. So I think that that's something that, you know, should not just be like an elective that you take, but something that's required for all students, and that you talk about the intersections of like race and different identity factors in social locations in like every field and not just during Black History Month.
I thought the students were awesome and dynamic. So what I would like to do now is, I think I would like to have each one of you all introduce yourself, kind of give an opening statement. Actually, I think I want to read The Brown Man's Burden first, and then I'm going to have you guys introduce yourself and give an opening statement. And then we want to hear from each one of the parents as well. So I'm going to read this real quick, if you haven't read it, just so you can kind of get a feel. Okay, this poem was read at St. Louis University High School, and I'm sure probably quite a few others schools in the metropolitan area, and it's called The Brown Man's Burden, and it reads like this. The brown man's burden, piled on the brown man's burden to gratify your greed. Go clear away the niggers, who progress would impede. Be very stern, for truly 'tis useless to be mild with new called sullen peoples, half devil and half child. Pile on the brown man's burden, and if ye rouse his hate, meet his old-fashioned reasons with maxims up to date, with shells and dum-dum bullets, 100 times made plain. The brown man's loss must ever imply the white man's gain. Pile on the brown man's burden, compel him to be free. Let all your manifestos reek with philanthropy, and if with heathen folly he dares your dispute, then in the name of freedom, don't hesitate to shoot. Pile on the brown man's burden, and if his cry be sore, that surely need not irk you, ye've driven slaves before. Seize on his ports and pastures, the fields his people tread. Go make from them your living, and mark them with his dead. Pile on the brown man's burden, and through the world proclaim that ye are freedom agent. There's no more paying games, and should your own past history straight in your teeth be thrown, retort that independence is good for whites alone. And this poem is by Henry Labouchere, The Brown Man's Burden. So with that being said, why don't I introduce you guys, and then you can give an open statement, and then we'll have the parents to kind of jump on in and we'll go from there. So Dr. Fahima, would you like to go first?
Evening. Dr. Fahima, aka Dr. Shanta Smith. I'm a full tenure professor and chair at Southeast Missouri State University. I have over 30 years of experience in education. I've been in education at all levels. I've been a middle school and high school teacher, teaching social studies, communication arts, and reading, an elementary school principal, and a principal on special assignment in central office. And then I transitioned to the collegiate area. Most of my work has been done in urban education, and I do consulting and professional development across the country with various school districts.
Would you mind just giving an opening statement on the subject matter, what you've heard thus far, and so on and so forth?
I mean, basically, this is something that we know as a nation that happens every day. The challenges that we have as a nation is that in order for us to be able to heal, whether we're talking about people of African descent or we're talking about majority members of this country who are Europeans, if we're not able to have discussions and have critical discussions and crucial discussions, there is no way for us to move forward, and there is no way for us to heal. So first and foremost, we have to acknowledge what is happening, what has happened in the past, what is still happening in the present, and how it's currently impacting a group of people and the nation at large. And until we're willing to do that, no healing can take place, no transformation can take place, and it will not take place because we have individuals that turn a blind eye. They either close their eyes or they keep their mouth closed because they don't want to deal with the situation. So you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. There is no gray area. Some of us try to make a gray area, but there is no gray area. There's a problem and there's a solution. So again, until individuals first and foremost tap into themselves and acknowledge what's going on with themselves and how it's impacting them and how they may either be part of the problem or part of the solution, there will be no transformation. And if you can't transform yourself, you can't collectively come together with a group of people and try to transform anything.
Gotcha. Sister Sheila, welcome. Would you like to chime in? Introduce yourself and kind of give an opening statement. By the way, welcome. Your mute is on. We can come back to you while you work through that. We'll come back to you. Brother Amir, why don't you jump on in there?
Hello, good evening. Two different time zones. Hello, my name is Dr. Amir Ali. I am a clinical social worker, and I'm also a professor and teacher too. And like Dr. Shanta, I have been in this field for over 30 years. And I deal with basically African identity and basically Black identity. And when I think of the poem, I think that, when I look at it from a clinical worldview, I don't believe that we can heal as a nation because I don't believe we are together as a nation. I believe that the perpetrator and the victim cannot heal in the same room. So, I believe to ask the rapist to come in the room with the victim and to sit down with the victim and let's heal together is not a feasible explanation. But I do believe we as an African people who are misplaced through the world and who've been through colonialization and oppression and slavery do need to heal. But I believe that we need to heal first as a community before we can heal across the board. And I don't believe the shark and the seal heal together. So that's something we need to address if we're going to move forward as a Black nation, because I don't believe we together. That's my opening statement.
Sounds good. Come on, Brother Shaheed, why don't you jump on in there?
I'm gonna come on after I hear the parents talking, the student. I'm gonna jump in then, Brother Joe.
Okay, sounds good. Miss Sheila, you want to jump in there?
Yes, can you all hear me now?
We can hear you very well.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Sheila Phillips, and I'm a health and wellness facilitator. And to hear this poem is just disheartening that we are allowing this to take place in our culture. I agree with everything the young lady said before, that we need to do some self-check. We need to heal ourselves first so that we can be able to help the next generation, because it's our next generation that's going to make sure that as a country, as a nation, that we can mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally be able to succeed in society. I had no idea. I do not have any siblings or children that's in school right now, but I do believe that we should teach Black history more than just in the month of February. And it should also be taught by our culture, because who can best teach something as such a sensitive subject with somebody of color, which is us. We are traumatized. We don't speak up enough as parents that I think that we should make a difference, but feel that they can't speak up because they don't think they can make a difference. So I think we all should come together as a community and move forward and speak and let our voices be heard. But that's important to hear.
Let me just kind of throw a little caveat in. What really brings us to the table is we had an incident that started at St. Louis University about 3.5 years ago. And we're going to have the mother to speak to that. Okay. And her son was attacked, racially attacked verbally with some very sexually explicit kinds of things. And so when I hear you, it's kind of difficult to do that when you're a minority at a predominantly white institution. So right now we're talking about St. Louis University, who only have a handful of Blacks. And so the majority of the staff, the majority of the students are white. So it's very difficult to kind of stand up and have a voice, particularly when you're a student. You may not have had that kind of preparation for something like that. So I just want to kind of set the tone. That's really kind of what brought us to the table. And actually 3.5 years later, we're still dealing with the same situation. So when I hear us all say that, yeah, we have to heal as a people, you're absolutely 100% right. But when you're in the middle of those kind of situations, it's very difficult for your children to navigate those waters. So I'm just kind of giving you a little bit more framework. So why don't we have Brother Hassan jump in here, and then we're going to have the students and their parents to weigh in, and then that'll take us deeper. So come on, Brother Hassan.
Okay. Hey, man, I'm excited about this. I've been working on it all day, pulling some information. Like Dr. Shanta and Dr. Amir, I too have over 30 years in education, but my first 5 years before I got in education was most critical. And that was when I became part of the Association of African Role Model and Tahir Youth Group, where we were working with young men who were traumatized. We didn't see it as traumatized. We said that they were dealing with problems. We knew those problems stem from racism within, and a lot of problems, without, and then there's a lot of problems that we as a people bring among ourselves. One of the things that I got into education, because I had a young Black man who was dressed similar to where I'm dressed tonight. His name is Ahmed Mahdi, and he said E means out. Eduk is a Latin word, it means to lead, and it ends with the suffix shun. Whenever you see that, it means action or movement. So education is a movement or motion that should bring the best out of us and not bring the worst out of our children, which they're dealing with. The other piece they're dealing with is trauma. And so when we leave tonight, my goal is to give you solutions on how to navigate through that system, because we had to do it. I myself dealt with it because I was helping save Black children, and I didn't know why I was pushed out of education. Part of it, I knew why God had to move me, but then people had to move me because we were saving young Black men, which this nation do not want you to do from within and from without. And I got to always clearly to make that known. So one thing I want to give to the youth and also to the adults, we got to go back on those things that we know that helped us, right? I'm holding the book right here. See, it wasn't until I started working in high school when I understand you seen Perkins when he said home is a dirty street. There's some social oppression of Black children, and guess what? It's coming from without and it's also coming from within. So get that information. One of the other books that we helped to help change people, the youth around, was many books by Dr. Naeem Akbar, who understands the African-American mindset, and his was a change in images of psychological slavery. What he said then still applies now. And so we must begin to understand these images and how we must take them to understand them and utilize them to do something different. But here's a name that I truly want you all to take down tonight. Her young lady, when you see it, 47 years old, beautiful African-American sister, Jamaican descent. Her name is Dr. Nadine Burke Harris. She is the first Surgeon General of California. She was a pediatrician, and she said she was doing the things just like everyone else. A kid came to her, it dealt with Ritalin. They said put them on Ritalin, and someone dealing with asthma. But she said when she took a look at what's called the Adverse Childhood Experience Study that was done in 1995 to 1997, where she found out that each one of us on this phone, on this Zoom call today, each one of us all had some sort of an adverse childhood effects that affected us. I'll say this, my dad was a stone alcoholic. And so what happened was that gave me an idea of things not to do. But I want you to take a look at that. And she talks about how these ACEs, this trauma, is still being perpetuated on our people, but yet there are solutions that we have to develop to bring ourselves out of this. She talks about how this abuse, the main, there's three, but two I'll focus on. She said racism, and it's systemic and it's institutional, and that's what our children are still dealing with. She said it's also one of the things that she found out that ACEs are also intergeneral culture and trauma. I mean, it's been passed down from generation to generation. And so we have to understand that and develop that. The last piece, and I'll close because I'll be on here all night. On the way, you gave that mic.
I was gonna say,
I'm gonna close, man.
You're giving a dissertation, not an opening, but
I know
go ahead.
I'm going on to close, man. So, and that's why I asked Ms. Phillips to come on, because she and I were working now. She has worked with me to start with our younger people. So we're going to start with some early childhood so we can work our way up, and then we're going to figure out how to work our way down. But we're going to take an understanding of these adverse childhood effects, and we're going to give solutions. She gives self-help. There's ways that we can self-help ourselves. And one of the things I used to do with children, I was a principal at Peabody School. Children came in with trauma all day long. And so I'm saying this for those who are attending SLU and you're dealing with this trauma on top of the other things that you deal with in life. You got to figure out some self-help ways. And when you go to this site, it's called storynumbers.com. Storynumbers.com. She's going to give you solutions of things that you can do to help heal yourself. And that's why I'm working with Miss Sheila Phillips, that we're going to show our young people and adults how to self-heal. So that's what I have tonight to share, and I'll chime in at a later point. But thank you all for giving an opportunity to share.
Sounds good. So right now we're going to flip it to one of the parents, and I saw our son had just walked in too, so we definitely want to hear from him. And then we'll move to the student who's currently in school right now at St. Louis University and having his share of difficulties as well. So Sister Alima, you want to jump in there?
Hi, my name is Sister Alima, and assalamu alaikum to everyone on the panel. I'm a life coach, and I'm dedicated to helping others through life coaching, mentoring, and community service. And I'm going to make it short because I want my son to be able to chime in before he has to leave. So do you want him to chime in now?
Yeah,
or-
yeah, definitely,
Okay.
please.
That'll be fine.
Can he introduce himself? What's his name?
My name is Ray Reed Jr. I attended St. Louis University High School from 2018 to 2020. I graduated from Cardinal Ritter in 2022. And I plan on going to college next year at Harris Stowe. But the main thing that happened is, so we were in Father Marcos. It was the place where most of the kids hung out. It was like where like you would think it was a chill spot. Everybody was just cool. Everybody get on their phones, it's cool. And we were playing this game, and then these kids, they put that they were gonna hang my family. They put the names of my family because, you know, sometimes I would talk about my dad and like how he coached basketball, and then they knew the names of my family. They put the name of my sister down, that they would hang her and my dad, and it was just horrible. So, and the thing is, like, it kind of ruined the whole school. Is based on brotherhood, right, and camaraderie, and it kind of just went completely against what they, you know, sold the dream as the school being, right. So I just think it kind of ruined my experience at the school, because it made it like everybody after everybody knew about the situation, it made it like a topic that nobody wanted to talk about. It was an elephant in the room, essentially. So, and another thing about the school is basically none of the Black kids sit with any of the white. Maybe one Black kid to sit at our table, and one white kid, couple of white kids to sit at our table, and they played sports, but that was it. So they called it the shadow area. But yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How did that incident impact you? And were there other incidents, or was it just that one incident?
There were other incidents like kids saying the N-word around me at lunch. And then they would be like, "Oh, I didn't mean to say it. I was just joking," or whatever. Like, you know, they would just try to do sly remarks. So
What about that incident in the locker room?
the locker room.
Wasn't there a video or something?
I
thought they had some kind of sexually explicit video. Somebody told you to do something, or they wanted you to do something.
No. In the game, they were saying sexually explicit stuff in the game that we were playing, where they said all that stuff, the racist stuff about my family. But there was an incident where this kid was like sexually assaulted in the locker room, but I don't know if that had anything to do with that. But yeah.
They were saying somebody being hung or something like that.
Yeah, that's the same. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, they said all of that, but there was no video. But yeah.
Did anybody else have a question for him before his mom chime in? I don't want to just be the one to ask him.
Oh, and it impacted me. It just made me not really trust any of the white kids anymore. I was just like, I wouldn't go around them. I wouldn't go hang out at any of their tables. At first, I kind of thought that because it's a school that has 90% white kids, you can't if you don't fit in with them, then you basically have almost no friends. So then, it just made the class environment very weird. And we only had one Black teacher at the school, and he was the basketball coach. So it's kind of like do that even really count? So it's like, yeah, who can you even go to at that? They only had one Black teacher. It's like, you know.
And then all of the support staff, the maintenance people were Black too, right?
Yeah, that was kind of a bad look. Every single maintenance man was Black, except the only maintenance men that weren't were the ones that they would bring in to fix stuff. But every janitor at the school was Black. So it was kind of weird, like
demeaning.
Yeah.
And so tell me about the one maintenance guy that told you how they talked to you, how they talked.
They said that they talked to the maintenance man horrible. The people who would tell them what to clean, they would talk to them horrible. But yeah, it's been so long, I don't specifically remember the conversation I had, but yeah. And the kids that part is kind of they had all the kids that were doing work grant at the school were basically Black, which is, you know, when you don't have enough money to attend the school, they make you do some work and then they grant you some of the money, which is a good idea, but on paper, but it kind of just, I don't know. Everybody I was working with was Black after school, and all the white kids would just look at us. It was just weird.
Let me just ask one last question and then you guys chime in. So the kid or kids who made those racially offensive statements to you, I think St. Louis University dealt with them. And then we had talked about the possibility of maybe one of those kids getting upset, taking a gun, coming up to the school, shooting up the school. Was that a remote possibility? Or and I know no area around the country think that things like that could even happen.
Yeah. There was this kid, I think his name was Frank or something, and he was making threats to the school and stuff. So I was kind of scared. Like, I don't know. Feel like I was just scared for my life at that school. So I feel like the next year, my sophomore year, I told my parents I wanted to leave. So so after the year was done, I left. So because I just didn't feel comfortable being there no more because there was just so many threats on my life. So.
Did anybody else want to chime in before we have his mom, and then we have another student
And
online too?
You can go ahead and leave.
Okay.
Did you want to make a statement, Mom, before we have Jamal come in and his mom?
Well, what I want to say is every day that I dropped him off, I felt like when he got out the car, I was praying for his return every day. He looked like he was dreading walking up to that building. It kind of reminded me of when somebody knew they was going to get a spanking and somebody was holding a belt or a switch. That's how he looked walking up to that building every day. And I knew I had no choice but to get him out of that situation. You know, it's not that serious. I felt like there was it shouldn't be no inclusion. It shouldn't even be a such thing as inclusion when if it's supposed to be a brotherhood and everybody's supposed to be accepted, why do we have to feel like we have to be included? That means we wasn't accepted. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to include you in the equation by allowing you all to come to this school. I was told that these kids that came to St. Louis U, they were the chosen ones. That's how they quote unquote make it appear. Because when they accept these kids to come to the school, they go through all of their grades from grade school all the way out. Their behavior, they talk to the counselors from grade school. They are very particular about who they allow to come to this school. So when this situation happened to my son and I didn't let it go swept under the rug, it was a problem. You were supposed to sit back and shut up. You wasn't supposed to say nothing. You wasn't supposed to address it. You know, you wasn't supposed to address the fact that there's no Black teachers. And the one that's there, you know, he graduated from there. So, you know, he has nothing to say. His voice is silent. So that's all I really have to say on this matter. Someone else can take the floor.
Very important point. Why don't we have Jamal and then his mom? Jamal, can you chime on in there?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam. Introduce both of you guys introduce yourself.
Jamal Muhammad. A rising junior.
I would just want to greet everyone in the Arabic words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Sister Bushra, I'm Jamal's mother. And we are here. Jamal is currently attending SLU High School. And just the discussion of supporting our youth, their voices with these situations in the school, the importance of being their advocates and supporting them, standing up with situations like this, and also dealing with accountability with these schools and this literature that's in the schools. So we are currently in the middle of the situation with them, but I'll let Jamal share exactly what happened, his experience at SLU.
So this is coming from the heart. First, I want to say is that these white folks don't give a damn about us. Excuse my language, but this is not something to play with. And so now I'm gonna get to what happened during the incident.
Bring your camera up just a speck. Bring it up just a speck.
So,
there you go. Okay.
So I was in history class and we were going over the poem that Brother Ajuma read. And my teacher, she called on the student to read the poem. And there were sections, and he read the first section. Let me make this clear. The white student, he read the first section, and the white teacher, calling on the student. And it had the word nigger in it. And he read that section and said clearly the word nigger. And, my first reaction was to look at the teacher and look at the students and see their reaction. And I heard there was laughing. So I was one of 3 Black students. And so one of the reactions was laughter and that laughter was from a Black student. He thought it was funny, right? And, I was looking around the classroom, seeing if anybody would say anything. Nobody said anything. So I stood up and I said something. And I asked them if they knew what it meant and how it was used against our people during slavery. And what the teacher was trying to tell me was that she was just trying to bring our focus back to the poem. And then, I heard the students trying to tell me to calm down and that it wasn't a problem. And then, there were some students on the left side of me. I couldn't really understand what he was saying, but he was saying something. He was, he felt like, like other students were saying, like basically they were telling me to shut up. That's what they wanted to say, but they didn't say it. They wanted me to shut up. That as if it wasn't right. And I stood up. I kept repeating some of the same things like, "Do you not know what this means? Do you not know how it was used against our people?" And the whole time they were disregarding what I was trying to say. And so I couldn't deal with it no more, and I walked out. Told my mama about it.
So, quick recap: you felt belittled. You felt dismissed and embarrassed, and other students laughed, and which made the situation even worse. Do you think the teacher handled it appropriately, or what's your take on that? And how did that make you feel when all that was going through your head?
It made me feel left out, even among the 2 other Black students.
Okay, Mom, did you want to jump in there?
Yes, just wanted to say that this is, like you all said, it's not that it's a surprise. This is not a surprise, this behavior. It is definitely disturbing, and it has to be, it does have to be dealt with and talked about and handled. The teacher, from what Jamal said, the teacher acted as if it was no problem. He went to the locker room, he called me immediately. And I immediately went to go pick him up and went up to the school and addressed them. She did not make any attempt to correct the classroom, apologize. From there, addressing the principal, the assistant principal at SLU, they did not make any effort to let her know that she needed to give some type of apology or written apology and correction to the students, letting them know that that behavior is inappropriate, that racist behavior. So currently, right now, that's no longer his teacher right now. We're currently in the process of dealing with this situation. Since that incident happened, they have accommodated him where he can finish his work at home, so that he just did not, we held them accountable with making sure that he could continue with his lessons and get the grades that he works hard for, but not while not having to be in that environment. But we are still holding them accountable.
So let me ask you this: Have you gotten the resolution that you wanted thus far from SLU High School?
So thus far, no, we have not gotten every as far as resolution. What we've asked for, we have asked for the teacher to be fired. We've also asked for the principal to be gone, to be fired. We asked for the board. We also contacted the board and asked for a written acknowledgement and apology from the board for this inappropriate behavior. And so far, we have only heard from one member of the board. So as of right now, no, we have not gotten everything that we've asked for.
Okay.
I wanted to add that all I could do while I'm at the school right now is separate. All I could do is separate, because really it's all over the place in all schools, really, the ignorance and foolishness. So
one thing I'll say, then I see Sister Lima, you got your hand up. I know Brother Shaheed, myself, and Sister Lima, probably 3.5 years ago, had multiple conversations with SLU, and they were supposed to be pushing towards equity and inclusion and all those pretty sounding words. They had only one Black staff there at that time. There were a lot of Black alumni who had come through the school who had accomplished great things, and they were never even recognized. Their certifications and plaques and pictures were all placed in like storage, and nobody even knew. And so the school was supposed to be turning the corner and putting greater emphasis on inclusion. And here we are 3.5 years later, and we're right back where we started. So Sister Lehman, then we're gonna have Brother Shaheed jump in because he said he wanted to come in after the parents.
Well, what I want to say is the atmosphere at SLU will never change. It is what it is. I mean, slaves built that school. And so that's the basis of what you're dealing with. And I realized that I had my son in a very hostile environment, because those children that go to SLU, they learn that behavior from their parents. And that's what we're putting our children in, environments like that. And it's not good for their mental, and eventually it's gonna come out.
Right.
You know, so I had to remove my son from that environment and put him in an environment where he could thrive with his own people. Because we're capable of educating our own anyway. They're just gonna teach our kids what they want them to know. And with that name of SLU, that's supposed to carry them wherever they want to go. You can get wherever you want to go. It don't have to have SLU behind your name, because it took me fighting and scratching with them to pull all of those Black people that graduated, those alumni, out of the closets and in the woodwork for them to put it on the wall. Dr. Michael DeBond, which is my daughter's doctor, he graduated from there in 1975. He was head over hematology, oncology at Children's Hospital. And his photo was along with all the other alumni that were Black, all the public figures that graduated from SLU. All of their pictures was invisible in the building.
Sure was.
It was invisible. And Dr. Muhammad, you was there when, what was his name? He was a preacher. What was his name?
They had Dan Isom's picture. He's a graduate of...
No, the gentleman that interrupted them when we were up there visiting and we was watching, they was trying to show us the wall, trying to keep us quiet.
That was the football player. Something Williams. He's a pastor at one of the churches.
Anise Williams.
Anise Williams.
Yeah. Yes, and he kind of addressed them about the whole situation. He was just sitting back, taking it all in. There's no inclusion there. You're going to continue until the day your son graduates. He's going to continue to deal with the same thing over at SLU. Nothing's going to change.
Let's we have a new guest, Sister Sophia. Why don't you just do a quick intro so we know who you are, and then we're gonna have Brother Shahid come in after that.
Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum to the Muslims. I'm Sophia Muhammad. I am Jamal's aunt. So I'm here in support of the situation. And I don't like to say nothing will ever change, because we are the changers. We are the change that they need to see happen. So as long as we keep fighting, we are perfectly capable. We're more than capable of teaching our own and handling our own. And we need to start thinking about that, because America is coming apart at the seams.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that intro. And Sister Lima said something really important. Google St. Louis University and slavery. It'll blow you away. Brother Hassan, Sister Fahima, y'all know we spent a lot of time, Brother Amir, over on SLU's campus. And I had no idea that the Berg Hall and all of those buildings were built by enslaved Africans. So if you Google that, it'll blow you away if you didn't know that. So come on, Brother Shahid.
Okay, I'm just sitting back here listening to all this. Let me start with the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. I bear witness that there's no God but Allah. I bear witness Muhammad, this slave servant and messenger. My history go back. I came into Islam when I was 8 years old, and I'm 68 years old now. So 60 years. This is what I've been seeing. But these people here are different. What they didn't tell you is that poem that Brother Jumma just read, and what Brother Jamal is talking about. That poem been on that campus for 4 years. That's what they're not telling. And it took us pulling or raising the lion's mouth open and sticking our head in there, reaching there to make it give it, because they didn't want to give it up. That's what they're not telling. So even though we started up there 3 years ago, because first Aaliyah Terry called me and told me there was a situation up there at school. I never went up there to school on my own. I was always called. And then while we was up there, Brother Jumma, Sister Leah, Sister Alima, started talking about what she's talking about now with her son. And then maybe about 4, 5, or 6 months ago, Sister Busher called me, tell me about the situation, Jamal. I never went to that school on my own. I didn't know what's happening at that school, no different from the other school. All I know is that anytime somebody stands up to these white folks, they have a problem. They've absolutely labeled me as the worst person on the planet Earth. I can do it down school on the no side. They don't want no parts of me at that school at all. I'm the most unwelcomest person other than Minister Farrakhan. They don't want to see me. And then they said, Juma need to be hung also, because he with me. Whatever they do to me, they need to also do it to him. Only because I heard with y'all, the same thing that y'all hear, I was there to voice it. And they thought I was supposed to go along with their program. And I said, since y'all want to give a historical history of what happened to Black people, let's give the whole entire history. Let's get the secret relationship between Blacks and Jews. And what did I say that for? These white folks say, you done lost your mind. They call me a stone racist or this, that, and other. But the bottom line is they don't want nobody to stand up against them. St. Louis University is racist as hell. And that father, whatever that little father name, what's that father's name?
Father M.
Father M. I told Father M to take a leave,
Gibbons.
Yeah, Father Gibbons.
Whatever his name is, because he was there from day one. They done made him not a president of that place, but at one point he was like a priest. And so he knows that history, and to sit back and play like they didn't know, and it ain't just that book there. It's that book, it's Huckleberry. There's about 3 books up there that they constantly want to talk about niggas. And they don't skip around. And so the problem they had when we came up there, I told him to read that poem. And he wanted to skip over the word nigga. I tell that white boy, you're not skipping over no damn word nigga. You're gonna say nigga. And you're gonna say nigga loud. And you're gonna say nigga over and over again because he skipped over 3 or 4 times. And that's what really set that thing off. So I said that to say I'm thankful to everybody that's on this phone, because this awareness needs to be out there. And what they try to do, they try to paint a picture of like, we done did something. You better believe they done gave us information to the police and all that, which I don't give a damn who they done gave it to. But they put it out there like, in other words, you the terrorists, and you done did something to them. That they supposed to sign some kind of form, which I know they told a lot to Sister Bushra, that they had no business even talking to anybody else, that they signed something that when they came to the school, that they would have some kind of collaboration, that partnership, that they know to go outside the school and bring other people on. When they broke down rule, because they let me into their school, they invited me up in that school. So whatever I did, they invited me. They said that she signed something saying that she would never do that kind of stuff. Well, why don't y'all tell her that from day one? We don't want Brother Shahida, but he's been up here before. I went live on them last time because I told myself, if this is what y'all call gonna do something, they only had one Black teacher. I think they might have 2 or 3 now in defense. I'm not taking up for them, just being truthful. I think out of 85 teachers, I know for a fact they don't have 5.
They only have 1.
I'm talking about right now. I don't know about in the past.
Right now.
Okay. Well, they done lied to me because they lied and said, and I'm definitely not gonna debate with you defending white folks, but they told me out of 85, I believe they said they got 2 more since then. So if you say it ain't, I'm gonna roll with you. I'm just telling you what they said. And then the problem is they submitted in writing that they messed up. See, when you say you're wrong, but then they want to tell us they wrong, what they did to Brother Jamal, that he stood up. But at the same time, they want to come with their own stuff and saying they don't want certain things said up there, when the main thing that they have done is they have left that poem up there. And see, we're talking about your son, Sister Lima. We're talking about Sister Leah's son, and we're not talking about Sister Bush's son. And I'm definitely talking about them, but it's probably another 40 or 50 students been affected by that. Ain't nobody even addressed. And that's why I told them they need to bring somebody to deal with the psychological damage that's happening. That's why those kids and that teacher don't have a problem saying nigga, because it's in all their books.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see anything wrong with saying nigga, because that's what they saying, nigga. They don't say N-word, they say nigga. You know,
and it's a form of hazing. They want to haze and see which Black people are agreeable. So it's a form of hazing. So when Jamal didn't take that hazing laying down, they knew they had a problem.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm thankful to brother, to every brother and sister on the phone. The only thing we got to do is make sure this stays out here, and we got to do a part 1, 2, or 3, because I think the best thing is going to happen is before school starts, this information is floating. It can't just stay here with us. It's got to be shared tomorrow on the phone call with 300 or 400 people. It's got to be shared on each one of our social media. Once Brother Juma shares this has to take out, because this is the best way to get this information out. Because I'm willing to bet you, if we had a way to talk to all the parents, because they gave us their word they were going to start a Black student union. They lied so much about the stuff they're going to do. They're going to do a Black wall of respect, which I guess they did a little something that they thought that was good. But they said 4 or 5 things that they were going to do. But for the most part, they didn't really keep their word. They kept their word on 2 or 3 of those things. But the majority of the things they supposed to have been doing, they didn't do it. And the mere fact that they didn't want to take that poem out, that they felt as though that this is historical history that Black people need to know about, I still leaves the question, why don't you, since you want to know about the whole history of how this nigga stuff started, let's talk about the secret relationship between Blacks and Jews, so the Jews can tell you how they financed it. That's what they don't want to do.
So Shaheed, let me jump in with what you just said. You just really kind of tied into the next point that I'm getting ready to put on the table. If you've been following the news all over America, CRT stands for critical race theory. Yeah. It is a very balanced perspective about the truisms of our history and our culture. And white schools and white school districts, many of them have banned it, and they're not even open to the possibility of it even being a part of the curriculum. So my question to you is that, what are your opinions on that? How can we ever have equity and inclusion when they're not even open to the possibility of even entertaining the idea of CRT?
Can I jump? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm not gonna forget what I was gonna say. Go ahead, Brother Hassan.
Okay, a couple of things. 2 things. They talk about this bird. If you have to fight this bird, either you're gonna fight or flight. Imagine Jamal every day going in that building. He got to face the bird over and over every day. You see what I'm saying? And so we got to look at his own social well-being. And I would say to his mother and to his aunt, you got to deeply ask him. Don't tell him. You got to ask him what's happening to him And is this really going to affect him? Because this is your son, right?
Yes.
And then you can then Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we all studied them, right? Know your own, have your own, be your own, right? So Cardinal Ritter has given us that. And I would say put him in that environment where he can thrive. We know our high schools are the best years of our life, you know, because you develop yourself to go to the next level. And so we want him to do that in a way that's well-being from him. And so the last piece of this, Juma asked about critical race theory. One of the gentlemen who developed critical race theory, one piece he put in there is called interest convergence. White folks not gonna do nothing unless it's in their best interest. When they did not allow black guys to come and play on the basketball team, and there was one black guy that went and got all these black folks, the black guys that helped their team, then other coaches got involved and they made it happen because it was in the best interest of them to win the championship. It was in the best interest of them to bring people in. Until SLU sees something that's the best interest of them, they not gonna change a thing. What's the best interest of them is what's the best interest for white folks. And I would say to our young brother Jamal, I wouldn't want you to continue to catch hell for your own social and emotional growth. I wouldn't want my child to go through that. When I heard you and the young brother talk, I reflected back to Shaheed said in the 60s when they sick dogs on us and put us through some horrible things. Yet they had to go through that thing. But our people developed some institutions so we don't have to go through that. So I'll close with this. Ask Jamal how he feels, what's happening to him, and what he wants to do. Because right now, they said the best thing is let him go home and study. Well, he could have do home study and home. I mean, I am the king of homeschool programs. I developed that piece, right? And so my thing is him being home, yeah, it's helping him a little bit, but it's not. The other piece is this. I'll close with this. The curriculum is not only what we get in school from the materials that we read and math and all of those things. Curriculum is the relationships we build with our people, our friends. That helps us. And so that's a piece that I believe he needs in his life to fulfill him and make him successful. So I hope I said something to get him and get us to really thinking of what's in the best interest. But I'm not saying that we don't have to continue to say what the school is not doing. We have to continue to put it out there, but yet we got to take a look at our little brother's interests as well.
So the floor is wide open for anybody who want to jump in.
Okay, and I want to say something. As a mother of a son that went to SLU, that environment is, it will trick you into thinking like, as a mother, I know when you go there, you know, you're proud of your son made it into SLU. It's not all about that because that environment is not for us. It's for them. It's for them. And when you walk in there, it's not accepting of you. You are tolerated. Even as an adult, you tolerate it. So when you walk in that door at SLU, you better know your place. That's how it is. It's just like you walking in on a plantation. And what they didn't tell you is, you know, I had a situation where I showed them the paperwork. My family helped build SLU. And then they sold some of my family members to Bishop DeBerg. I had it on paper and I let them know that. So yeah, you all messed with the wrong one. You thought you had a good nigga, but you didn't. I'm not the one. That's why I stood up for mine. I'm not getting ready to put my child through that. Because if he can homeschool himself, that curriculum is way too tough for him to be sitting at home trying to, you know, just get this piece of paper with SLU name on it. It's not that serious. He's going to that school. He's not having no relationships with anybody. This is his only time to have that. As a high school student, you only get to do that one time. And it's not that serious to have SLU on your diploma because you can't give it back to him. That's how I look at it.
Anybody who want to jump in, knock yourself out.
I want to
familiarize ourselves with that in the state of Missouri, House Bill 1474 prohibits schools from discussing critical race theory. I also want us to be mindful, like Brother Hassan said, as it pertains to critical race theory. Critical race theory evolved in the 70s from legal scholars to basically kind of stall progress of the civil rights litigation that was going on. So as Brother Juma said, to just kind of bring things from a more cohesive perspectives of individuals where things were actually happening to a community of people. And we have to be mindful that the state particularly in public school systems, the state dictates what happens as it pertains to curriculum in those school districts. School districts are not teaching critical race theory. Brother Hassan, myself, and Brother Amir are educators. That has never happened. So I just want everybody on here to be aware of that, because people are saying that schools teach critical race theory. That has not happened. It has not been a part of any school district's curriculum for critical race theory to be taught. Critical race theory is taught when you are on a collegiate level, and it's mostly taught in law classes, unless you're in some type of education or psychology classes or something, or sociology classes, get an introduction to what critical race theory is. With the bill being implemented in the state of Missouri, what they were able to do is they were able to put various discussions from various identity groups, whether we talk about African Americans, Asian Americans, women, Latinos, members of the LGBT community. They grouped all of this stuff together under this osmosis of critical race theory to say what educators could and could not do in the classroom. So I want us to be mindful of that as well. And remember that school has its place, and you need to understand, as Sister Alima said, what school is about and what school is for. And if we believe, not only us, but any other group of people, whether we're talking about women, whether we're talking about Asians, whether we're talking about Latinos, we can talk about all different affinity groups. The school is not responsible for teaching groups of people about their history. So please be mindful of that. That's not the school's responsibility. And the school is not going to teach groups of people about their history. The school is only going to give you a snippet of history, because it's a lot of different groups. So you've got to make sure that as a parent, whether you're the parent, a co-parent, or you are subbing in as a parent, that you teach your students what it is they need to know as it pertains to their culture and their heritage. School has its place, and you have to understand the purpose of school, why we have school, and what school is for, and what type of school you're sending your children to. All of that runs into place so that you can fully understand that. But no teacher is going around, because of curriculum, as Brother Hassan said, teaching critical race theory. So I want us to please understand that that's been grouped into like a conglomerate of all kind of stuff, and it's causing a lot of confusion.
On purpose.
Correct.
So the thing is, when they say even the term critical race theory, the word theory, when it comes to us, is very, very disrespectful, because we're clearly not a theory. We're clearly the reality. And I find it real interesting. Yes, we can ask Jamal about his experience, but we have men in this whole thing who have experienced firsthand racism. And he's unfortunately probably going to experience a lot more in his life, but you guys have experienced it. And I don't understand why we're sitting up here having conversations. We know who we're dealing with. We know who we're dealing with, to the point of God literally have given them their exit papers. They're dying off. So why are we even having this conversation? What's the action plan to protect him and protect other children? Because we know they psychologically start with our children at very young ages. I just went to an event the other day, and I saw this white family, and it looks like, I don't know if the children were adopted or whatever, but they had 2 Black children with them, and they had white kids, and they had a Black girl and a Black boy. And clearly the Black boy was emasculated to make that white family feel comfortable. And we're dealing with this, and then we have Juneteenth, but nobody's talking about Juneteenth, but they slipped it right in with Pride Month. And so we got to go out and hear all this disrespect. What is the game plan? Because we know we're targeted because we're powerful. We're targeted because of that. So now what's the game plan? Because I'm sick of our children going through this. I'm sick of all of this. I've had to deal with my share. I have 2 daughters. I've had to deal with my share of foolishness with them. And trust me, I pull up. I pull up. So what's the game plan? Seriously.
Anybody want to jump in? Dr. Mir?
You know, I'm just listening to this, and it reminds me of a discourse that I had with a Jewish student when I was in graduate school at UMSA. And the discourse went like this. A white Jewish student attacked me in class. He said, Mr. Ali, you act like white folks cannot be over Black people in no type of training facility or any type of institutions. So during the class, I asked her, the Jewish lady, she's a very nice lady, I asked her, would the Jewish community allow a white German Catholic man to be over the JDL or any white Jewish institutions? And she wouldn't respond because it was at that moment that she realized the contradiction. And I'm saying that to say that, you know, we strive for these educations at these institutions, but it's a big contradiction. It's like you having a black Jewish child or a Jewish child and taking them to the Germans to be educated. And I think we as African people or Black people, whatever you want to call it, have to understand that. We got to do something for ourselves. We cannot, that's their institution. That's how I look at it. That's their institution. And I'm an alumni of SLU, not high school, but I graduated from St. Louis University. And that's their institution. And I accepted it was their institution the day I set foot in Taylor Hall in the School of Social Work. Because I understand I'm dealing with some wicked people. So, you know, you jump in that water, then you get wet and you complain. And that makes me question us as a people. Are we really trying to move towards independence as a people? Or we just, I mean, we want our children to have a good education, but is that a good education? You know, that's a question. Because, you know, I went to a hostile school. I'm from East St. Louis. I live in a damn near 100% Black community growing up. I mean 100%. And when I went away, there was a freshman in college. I was at Belleville Area College in 1988, which is Southwest College now. And it was like 30 Black students and about 500 white students. And we caught hell there. That's why I ended up transferring to Harris Stowe, because I realized that environment wasn't conducive for me. And I'm saying that to say that our children need to be in an environment that's conducive for them. You want somebody to build your child's self-esteem, not to be skating around, destroying. They don't want to see your sons grow up to be a full-fledged Black man. So why would you give your sons to the devil? They don't want him. Ain't no revolutionary in the white community want to see those Black young males grow up to be warriors and revolutionaries for their community. You know, so they're not going to build their self-esteem. They're not going to build their character. They're not teaching them their history and their culture. They're going to emasculate them psychologically, and if they can, they would do it physically. So we need. I don't want to hurt no parents' feelings, but you know, you can't give your children, you can't give seals to the sharks. Expect the sharks not to eat them.
No, you don't hurt my feelings. You speaking the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hurt no. You know, I'm just saying we got to be realistic about that, because as long as we lay down with dogs, we're gonna get up with fleas. That's how I look at it.
And I want to add to what Brother Amir is saying. Every day he walks in that school, he's a threat to white folks. His pants not sagging. You see what I'm saying? He's using what they consider standard English. He's using it better than them. You know, I bet mathematically, I would say he can write better than them. That's a true threat. You see what I'm saying? The ones running around here shooting the guns, that ain't no threat to them. But I mean, you see what I'm saying? But when they see what he's doing, he is the ultimate threat. You see what I'm saying? He is the Malcolm X that they didn't want to speak out. He's the Farrakhan that they don't want to speak out. Somebody asked me the other day, why are people so threatened by Elijah Muhammad? He's the Elijah Muhammad that they don't want. And when they see that, you know, that they're threatened by just his natural ability, what you all gave him. So I'll go with Brother Amir said, you got to put him in a place where he can be cultivated and develop what you all want him to develop, and not just go through trauma every day. As I said, who want to come home and fight the bear every day?
I think what everybody is saying is so timely. I think Sister Lima said something about how they just tolerate our children. They just tolerate our children. Then Brother Mir said something, how can you go to Satan looking for justice? It ain't in him. It's not in his DNA. And just listening to what everybody is having to say, remind me of Benjamin O. Davis. Go check out the story of Benjamin O. Davis. This was the brother who went to West Point for 4 years and nobody ever spoke to him in 4 years. And this brother ended up being a 5-star general. And it goes back to what you just said, Brother Hassan. When you think about it, whatever we get into, we take it over, we turn it out, we the best of the best of the best. So they have to continue to emasculate you every day, drip by drip, sliver by sliver, to where they destroy you. And unless you're a feminine male and you're absolutely no threat to them, only then do they feel comfortable with you being around them. But when you show leadership and you begin to exert your masculinity, they have a serious problem with you, a very serious problem. So what everybody's saying is so spot on. Jump in there, Brother Shaheed.
Okay.
Brother Shaheed, I want you to speak about the time when we all came up to SLU, when we walked in that building. When I tell you, everybody turned around. Ajuma Muhammad was there, Dr. Ajuma Muhammad, Brother Shaheed, and me and some other parents. When we came in that building, when I tell you those white people, every student turned around and looked at us when we walked in there. You would have thought somebody brought a bunch of gorillas in the building. That's how they turned around and looked. Like they've never seen Black people before. Like,
But
what
in
are you
another-
guys doing here?
But another aspect, we turn heads because of our frequency. And we know that. We are literally the image of God in flesh. The Black man is definitely the image of God in flesh when he's in his rightful frequency. So yeah, so I can understand the turn of heads, and then how they react afterwards is they're getting on code. But
if I can jump in, sister and brother, because she's right on that. When we walked in, what it did. But I kind of hear two or three. It's a twofold piece. We're talking about Brother Jamal. We're talking about Sister Lima's son and Aaliyah's son. It's always the attack on the Black male, but it's also these other brothers up here. And I've been talking about the other brothers and sisters, or whoever is at the school. To be honest, I'm not even sure if the sisters up there. I've never seen the sisters up there, but I have never just walked all the way through that building. I think the whole piece now is like, even with me, I have connections with at least 3 or 4 radio programs, along with me having a radio program. Sister was asking, what is our point of attack or our plan? Is we got to let other parents know what's happening at their school, because what white folks do, everything around them is around money. Them white folks, and I'm not saying to get a laugh, they'll kill their mom about some money. About some money ain't nothing you gonna do. So what we have to do now is make sure that each one of us on the level that we are on, we have to be able to keep this information out, because there's a lot of parents up to that school. I'm not thinking all of them gonna jump on board. If you got, I'm just making up a number, 100 stupid parents. If 25% of them get involved, or 15 or 20% of them get involved, that's a big number for them, because they have never had Black people talking about what's happening up in their school. And we're talking about actual facts, because we got a letter from them, or Sister Bushra has an email from them saying that they messed up. It's their fault. It wasn't his fault. He didn't do nothing but walk into the room. And the mere fact is, this poem has been there for the last, that poem has to be floating all on social media, everywhere we go. That poem has to be pushed, because what they don't want is, they saying they want to take it down, but remember, it's not just here in St. Louis. I was blessed about 25 years ago to put McGraw-Hill. And I'll bring it the next time we on the farm, I'll bring that out. I made them, Allah blessed me to make them take all the books out that they had, because they was talking about Black people being monkeys. And for about a week or so, people was telling me about what wasn't gonna work. Well, I wouldn't listen to them, because I know what Allah blessed me to do. I put white folks. And I took my time, and within a week, I had them report all books, and I'll show you in writing what Allah blessed me to do. And I was by myself at that point, other than Brother Jim helping me writing something. That's how I whooped them. I didn't have social media at that point. So with social media, us keeping this out here, and the connections and the newspapers that we have a relationship with, this is the thing that we have to do, because I'm telling you, it's a book called Dr. Seuss. Most of us don't know that Green Eggs and Ham book, that guy who wrote them book, If you're talking about who is the stone racist, all of them were, but nobody has really challenged them. And since
And
we
Walt
got,
Disney.
ma'am,
And Walt Disney.
yes, especially them. And now that we have them on the ropes, we got to keep them on the ropes. I think this is the best thing that we're doing. I'm not sure how often you're going to do this, Brother Joma. I'm good once a week. If you want to do it every 2 weeks, but all of us got to make sure we got people on this farm. We got to reach out to other parents. But I believe once this starts floating, and y'all help us float it out, along with me going on a few of these radio programs, and some of y'all going on your own social media and pushing it, I promise you, it's the difference that another week or 2 weeks make. Because the more parents hear about this here, all of them ain't gonna do nothing. I promise you. A lot of them ain't gonna do nothing. They don't even know they can do something, and they milly mouth. But you got some parents that's gonna be pissed when they hear about what's happening with those students up there. But then another thing white folks don't want is when you start dealing with their board of directors, when you start talking about what do you say, but you're not the board of directors. What's the main things you talk about?
Stockholders.
Their money. What is it?
They stockholders.
Their stockholders. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then what do you do when they play the money? What do you
Stock
call it?
market.
Stockholders. But what's the other stuff they do every day after you?
Stock
The
market.
stock market. Yeah.
See, it's 2 or 3 things we're gonna get. I promise you. I promise you. I don't know a whole lot of stuff, but I was blessed to get this white boy off of Channel 2 to call Dr. Cone, Dr. King, Dr. Cone. And they swore him down, they weren't gonna get rid of that white boy. I told him, I said, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn who y'all talking to.
Okay, Brother Shahi got
Folks cut me off for a minute. Am I back?
Yeah, they cut you off.
They some cut me off, and it's all good. I don't take it personal. It happens all the time, so I'm just used to it. But it was when I was just in the point when the white folks cut me off. Wow.
you was talking about the newscaster they called Dr. King, Dr. Cone.
Yeah. They swore up and down that they want to get rid of him. But what I did, I started going at, I had Brother Jim to help me. And what I did is I found out who their sponsors were. And as soon as I knew who their sponsors were, and remember during January the 19th, that's when they were dealing with Dr. King's birthday, right around that time. He made that slip. Well, he didn't make no slip. He just thought he was at home when he said Dr. Cone, blase, blase. All the so-called leaders and stuff that was running for office during that time swore up and down. He made a mistake and they were gonna work with him. I told him, I said, I don't give a damn who work with him. I'm not working with him, and I'm gonna get him, and I'm gonna stay on y'all until y'all do it. February came, and February was right around the time that they had their Valentine's. I took no florist. I said, I'm gonna take one of you devils at a time, and I'm gonna show y'all how this gonna go.
Yeah.
I stayed on that white boy. I whooped them white folks there, and we put in, I bet you, no less than 5,000 calls, and we counted, I bet you, at least 1,000 orders. That's when the white folks decided to let that white boy leave. And they
You bleed them
specifically told
once.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you, you're asking the plan of action, my sister. The plan of action is, first of all, you get this information out. What I'd like you to do for me, if you would help me find out who some of their sponsors is. That's all I need to know. Because one of the things, if you notice with the Bush, they never gave us that list of the board members. We done asked for those board members for the last 2 months, 3 months. They have refused to give us the name of those board members. This is purposely done because I'm willing to bet you most of them board members don't even know this stuff is happening. So what we do is get those board members' information and get the stock market information they got, what stock they got, and then you get the ones I just said too. And between them 3, the sponsors, the stock market, and the board of directors, I promise you, it ain't about what they're gonna bend. Certain hits, they can't keep on doing with bad public relations. I promise you.
And they do have a school newspaper that should have that information in it. The school newspaper.
Also,
if you would reach out on that the school newspaper and get that information, because we got to have the plan of action. I was just waiting for y'all to get to talk, and that's why I wanted to talk last. Because if we keep this information out, you get that information, Sister Lima, and then Sister Bush or Sister, if you would reach out and find out who the sponsors are. Just give me we don't need to have all of them. If it ain't number 3 or 4, like they had Volkswagen, they had Quick Trip. See, after I start calling the white folks and start saying, y'all either with us or against us. I'm just trying to see what your stand is. I understand that you supporting Channel 2 News, because what I didn't blame it on that little white boy. I forgot his name. I blamed it on Channel 2 News because he worked for them. I didn't, because at any point they could have fired him. I didn't let them get off like that. So remember, it ain't that white girl who did that, that teacher, that was St. Louis University that did that.
Of course.
And Jamal, do you know the name of your school newspaper?
Prep News.
Okay, so can you get a copy of that newspaper and get it to your mom?
But did you want a specific newspaper?
Well, if you can look in the newspaper and see if it has a list of the board members, because one of those editions should list that information.
So let me ask you a question. Have you all just Googled and see if Googled it that way and see if the
Yes.
board members?
Yeah,
Did it
they
come
might
up?
be in there.
So who is it? Ian Gibson? Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah, it does. That's the man name I was talking about.
Okay, so right now when I Googled it, they got, and I can just cut and paste and put it in the text, and you all can see who the board members are.
Let's verify that in the newspaper.
Is all of them listed?
Let's verify.
All of them listed, Brother Hassan? I don't believe all of them are listed.
Yeah, we checked on that. We couldn't find a full listing. Gibson, that's the principal. Father.
Okay, right now they have Sean T. Angelil. He's the director of advisement. Mr. Thomas Barra, Harold Carter, Mike Caruso, associate professor school. Somebody named H. Eric Clark, Mr. Wolf Coleman, Timothy Fogarty, and then Ian Gibson. So I can put them out here, or I can email them to someone, and at least you can search.
Why don't you email it to me?
Okay.
And so Dan Iceman is not there anymore. He's not a part of the board anymore, Brother Shaheed.
Now, Dan Iceman got a whole lot of weight on him, so now he dealing with other stuff. He ain't no board member.
I don't know.
He's a graduate. He's a
So I think what we want to do is get this information, and once we regroup again on this next call, we're gonna start making sure this information, because the main thing they don't want, bad news spreads. They do not want this here. They don't want us knowing their board members. They don't want us to know their sponsors. This is what they don't want to have. And they don't want us to know about the stock market. And once this stuff starts floating out about the stock markets and all these people out there, I promise you, somebody gonna want to talk. And then by the time we get, if we wind up getting another 5 or 10 parents, that's gonna be powerful. There's one thing about us being on the phone, and y'all been there 30 years as teachers and principals and everything, and that's powerful. But it's nothing like those students talking and those parents talking. And I promise you, between now and the time school start back, most of those parents don't know this stuff is happening like that. And I'm willing to bet you there's some other parents that had some stuff happen. They just didn't know they had somebody that they could come to and talk to help them. They didn't know, like Brother Martin, he had a community behind him.
Let me ask a question, particularly to the educators out here. We're talking about St. Louis University High School, but do you guys know of other area high schools in the area, maybe like a Loyola? I don't know. I think it's predominantly white as well. It's right next door to Carter Ritter, where they're teaching the same kind of literature in the schools. Or what do you?
They are, because that's a feeder school. A lot of the students that graduate from Loyola end up going to SLU. So that's one of their feeder schools.
So I think what we're doing is going to deal with everybody at the same time. So I say it's a twofold piece. We're talking about Brother Jamal, and we're talking about Sister Lima's son and Sister Leah's son, but we're talking about all of them. And we're not just talking about that particular school, because what's going to wind up happening is once that it's like a
snowball,
a domino effect. As soon as we start putting this out there for real, that's why I say everybody has a role to play, because each one of y'all have something, even if you don't put that brown man's burden up. The mere fact that that thing is floating, see, that's what they don't want, I promise you. And then every week, every 2 weeks, we're doing something like this, and then this information get out and other people see it, I promise you, you take it from me. And then by the time we hit those board members, to make sure those board members know what's happening. Because I'm gonna take for granted, I don't think they really notified all those board members. I really don't, because we asked them too many times. And it took us damn near at least 2 months to even get how long that poem was out there. They knew from day one how long that poem had been in their school before they gave it to us. I'm willing to bet you, because every time the Sister Sister Bushra wrote that letter, she asked them about the board members and the board members' name. They never addressed that. They never
Question
addressed it.
is,
They
why
don't-
are we asking our adversaries for information to bring them down? We
Well,
we
what you
need to
want
be
to do-
we need to be like the FBI and CIA. By the time we come to the table, we got all the evidence.
What you want to do, sister, you want to have it documented in writing that you asked this. I agree with you, but you got to have it in writing that you said that you asked them this, that, and the
I
other.
agree with you.
Let me
And that
ask you.
was
I think one of the things we need to focus on as well, this is all fine and dandy, and don't take this the wrong way, but children are still going to school across the country. So as Brother Shaheed said, every person has a role. What role are you playing and what are you doing individually and what are you doing collectively to make sure that our teachers have the proper tools and resources to provide a quality education, whether they're in a private school, a parochial school, a traditional public school, or traditional charter school? What are we doing to make sure that the quality of education that our students are receiving is appropriate and that the climates that they are in are conducive to teaching and learning? So if we're not doing that, we've got to be mindful that children are going to different types of school systems. I always classify school systems as heaven, hell, and purgatory. So we got students that are in heaven schools, students that are in purgatory schools, and students that are in hell schools. Over 85% of the teachers that are teaching in American public schools are white females. So what we have to realize and we have to understand, the overwhelming majority of Black and brown and individuals that are in the circumstance of poverty are being educated by white middle-class females. And if those white middle-class females haven't had the proper education themselves to learn how to work with culturally and linguistically diverse students, then we're going to continue, as Sister Nicole said, to have these problems. So we've got to have different, what's the word I'm looking for, systems put in place ourselves collectively, working together to make sure that we're hitting different avenues, as Brother Shaheed said, and not everybody tackling one thing. First, we got to look at what we're doing. I always tell people that, because it's, people get up, they rile up, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. What you doing with yours at home? What you doing with yours at home? First and foremost, what are you doing with yours at home? Second, as Brother Shaheed said, consistently, do you even know who the teachers are? Do you know who the principals are? Do you know who the board members are? It's so many people that have no idea whether they have children in the school system or children not in the school system. They don't know anything about the school. Like Brother Shaheed said, they know nothing about the school, let alone even talk about the curriculum of what's being taught in the schools. So look at what you're doing. If you don't know, ask for some assistance so you can figure out what you can do to help. Remember, I said we're either part of the problem or part of the solution. There's no gray area. I can start with myself for an example. One of the things that I've always did as an educator, and I've had the blessing to work on every level, I make sure that the individuals that I interact with on a consistent basis understand the importance of being culturally responsive and know that it is imperative that when you're working with culturally and linguistically diverse students, you have to meet students where they are, and you have to engage in processes that are beneficial, as Brother Shaheed said, for those students, not for you, the teacher. It's not about you, the teacher. You got to make sure that what you're doing is meeting the needs of the students, because if you're not meeting the needs of the students, then you are failing the students. So when you look at the curriculum, like Brother Shaheed is saying, and some people will agree and some people will disagree, this is something that's happened historically, and it still has an impact on us today. So can the information be taught? And Brother Hassan and Brother Amir can chime in because they're educators. The information can be taught. It goes about who's teaching it, how they're teaching it, and the context that they're teaching it in. Because I don't want anybody on here to believe that they're not going to teach things from a historical context. That's history. They are going to teach things from a historical context. We have to make sure we understand what context they're coming from, the rationale behind it, and they probably haven't provided you with any rationale as why they're using this curriculum and what this curriculum is doing, because Huck Finn is real, it happened, and it's still happening today. To Kill a Mockingbird is real. It happened and it's happening today. So again, looking at the context, looking at who's teaching it, how's teaching it, the impact that it's having on our children, and if it's negatively impacting our children, what can we do, as Brother Hassan said, to make sure that we're providing our children what they need, because trauma is real.
Let me jump in just for a second. Listening to Brother Hassan, Brother Amir, and so many of you, and Sister Sophia, all you guys collectively are really saying the same. I think everybody on here collectively saying the same thing. I want to ask Jamal a question. Those institutions, historically, for the most part, they're not going to change. They're going to always be white oriented. They may have a little variation here and there, but as Brother Hassan talked about, the emotional, social, and psychological trauma that you have to endure every single day when you go there, knowing that you're in a marginalized group, and as Sister Lima say, they just really tolerating you. You're not going to ever fully be embraced. I'm concerned how it's affecting you daily, number one. And then number two, after you've heard what everybody didn't say it on this Zoom, is this an environment you want to go back into? Because this, I think Sophia, Brother Mir said it, you're not going to get justice from Satan. Satan is Satan. It's in his DNA. So to think that he's going to have some consideration for you, it ain't going to happen. So with all that being said, is this an environment you even want to reconsider going back into? Because it's not going to change.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and like I said earlier, all I could do is separate. And you know, me being in this school right now, and me being involved in programs, and you know, me being a part. Well, I wouldn't say fully a part of the culture, the Catholic. They got Catholic culture and you know stuff like that. But you know, I mean, either way, if I transfer, you know, with ignorance through being in these schools, there's gonna be problems that I'll have to face.
So while you talking, why not consider Carter Ritter, which is around the corner from?
So I mean, and so this is not a matter of him not considering or us not considering other schools. That has definitely been a thought of ours. Like what was said earlier, is everybody has their role in this and what we're dealing with right now. So this is not a matter of the idea of that he needs to just absolutely be at SLU, because you know what I'm saying, we are I want to make it very clear that we are very aware what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this devil, we're very aware. But like we said earlier, everyone has their role in this fight and what we need to do. So right now, like what I talked to Brother Shaheed, Anthony Shaheed, is as of right now, we're getting a lot of stuff on paper as far as some things that we can use in our effort to expose some of these schools. That doesn't mean that Jamal is going to, you know, stay there. He's going to be there, graduate there. We're not sure where we are with that right now, but I just want to make it very clear that it's not a matter of not considering him going to another school as far as what would be best for him. And definitely, I've been communicating with Jamal. Jamal has been communicating with me as far as talking about his feelings, how he's feeling when he's walking in the school. He communicates with me as far as it just seems like anybody's saying anything that is inappropriate. He just gets a feeling. So I am very aware of that, and I'm trying to make sure that Jamal stays aware of that. So I just wanted to make that clear as far as the decision making on him being there currently right now and deciding on whether or not he's going, you know, when or whether or not he's going to go to another school.
And also, can I
say one thing? And I just want to say one thing. I want to chime in about that. Is what made the decision for me is I decided that I don't want to send my son into a burning fire and expect him not to get burned. That's all I have to say.
I just wanted to say something real quick. When they said the statistics about the white women being in the school and by how they're not quote unquote properly educated, let's just say this. The white woman is a co-conspirator in our demise. She has birthed the men who are the forefront of our demise. She teaches them, she feeds them, she nurtures them. So the white woman is the softer side of the same beast. Let's just
She's so
remember that.
wicked as Simon the same beast.
Yes.
Boy,
She's his
boy.
first teacher.
Right.
She's his first teacher.
The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
Two points I want to bring out, and Mom, I'm glad you said you're looking at some other options, and I would say allow him to take a tour to some of the other schools so he can kind of see some things beyond that. Also, please keep in mind that when we deal with trauma, whether it's overt or covert, it leads to other health problems. They say when they took a look at it, for these adversities that our children dealt with as children, it leads to heart attacks down the line. It leads to strokes. It leads to diabetes. So we're dealing with something bigger. But if we can address it now, that because what happened, people smoke for relief. Am I right? People, drink for relief. People do some other stuff behind closed doors for relief. And so I would say to take a look at our own well-being, make sure that we do what's best for our children so they can have that peace. And I'm glad you're listening to him. You're allowing him to talk, because sometimes, as parents, we want our child to do something because we want it. And I faced that a lot. I remember my first experience as a principal. I was a principal at Kenora Classical Junior Academy School. Parents put their kids in there because they want their kids to be in the gifted school. Some kids hated it. They didn't want to be there worth nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I had to go because mama said this is why I had to go. And they hated it. One of the boys, one day I walked in the restroom ready to jump out the window. Thank God I walked in and grabbed him. And it's because he said, I come here every day because my mama wasn't making me come here. I want to be somewhere else. So I'm saying that's to say, let's find out what the child wants and let's surround that. As long as we know that he's doing something that's sensible and reasonable, then we want to support him.
I want to say one more thing. The unique thing about Jamal is that his mom has put him in a unique position. Jamal can go anywhere and shine. She's made sure that he's bilingual in everything. So wherever he's going to flourish. We got to think about these children who doesn't have a bushel for a mother. And we got to make sure that they have that foundation where if they're going into somewhere, it's safe. And we need to start hitting them with these schools with discrimination charges, because it's discrimination. The fact that he had to listen to that because it's targeting him as a Black person. So I don't know what legal ramifications they need to be hit with, but yeah, we need to be doing, because like I said, he's going to flourish wherever he's on, because she has done that groundwork since he was a baby, so yeah, we just got to make sure the other children are going to be, just like Jamal.
Brother Juma, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
So, I'm listening to this conversation, which is a very good conversation. And Brother Hassan pointed out about traumatization and the reality of the situation that we are traumatized. So what the children are going through is just a macrocosm of the micro of what we going through as a people, trying to survive and live under an oppressive regime. And I agree with the sister. I mean, I don't believe white folks they don't deal with situations until their pockets hurt. They don't understand situations until, it's an eye for an eye. So we ain't doing eye for eye, but if you hurt their pockets by getting those board members. And I want to suggest another thing. I think we should broaden the net, because, one thing about being a chess player, I played chess in high school. So all these elite high schools growing up, I went to them. I spent many Saturdays at St. Louis University High School. I spent many Saturdays at Vianney High School. I spent many Saturdays at John Burroughs High School. They all got Black students there. And I think that we, if in the process, we should reach out to other parents and maybe see, can we find these other Black students and other parents and create a forum for them to come to be able to express their grievances and have an action plan where we go after the board members. Because I'm sure at Vianney High School, some of the friends I got right now, I met at Vianney High School when I was in high school. Some of the Black people, they caught hell going to Vianney High School. They caught Another friend went to John Burroughs. You know, we friends today from 35, 37 years ago from high school. So we need to broaden that net, you know, in the process of trying to correct some of the, you know, because our people gonna go to these institutions too, because that's how we feel, because we unconsciously have the value system of Europeans. So, you know, if they're gonna be there, then some of our people gonna be there. Everybody ain't gonna jump up and fight like that. We should at least try to help them to make it comfortable for them. So by broadening that net.
So let me kind of put the icing on the cake, because we're about 14 minutes out from shutting down. And I want to just kind of sum it up. We're going to support Sister Busher and whatever she's doing. We've always made that statement. And whatever you decide you want to do, Sister Busher and Brother Jamal, we got your back. As I said, it's a twofold operation. Each person on this farm has something to do, and you know what you can do right now better than us. My thing would be social media and reaching out to making sure that I get this on 3 or 4 of the radio programs along with some newspapers I put in. The main thing is that poem. I think, Brother Jimmy, we got to follow your lead, because it's got to be something saying St. Louis University and other schools, whatever schools we know. Right now, we do know it's St. Louis University is where it came from, that they've had this up there for 4 years. And all of us have to push this. If we push this, it goes back to saying, Brother Amir, and different ones get it from different other schools as they see it, it's going to bring people onto, you know, our action program. And we can decide if we're going to meet 2 weeks from now and what we're going to be getting done. But by then, Brother Juma, all the information that we get, we shoot it to Brother Juma. And then we'll have time, maybe in another week or 2 weeks, to say, you know, how we're going to do it. But for right now, when we hang up the phone, everybody should be ready to share it. Just like tomorrow, we'll have no less than 300 people on with us for Juma prayer. No less than that. That'll be the first place we're going to hit it at. We're going to make sure that everybody on that phone knows that they need to help us push this here and to make sure we get this out. But Brother Juma should have the poem on his page. Therefore, everybody sharing the same thing, pushing it the same way. And our goal should be within another week or two, have that thing pushed no less than 10,000 times out here. You know, we start there, and each one of you in your own rights, you know what you can do that we don't know what you can do to help push this poem, because it's not just there at that school. It's not just Brother Jamal. It's the other one. If Brother Jamal stopped going there today, which I know he's not, so I'm just making some up. It still don't stop the little brother and sister who's coming on to that school next year, that they can get with the different poems and different killing a mockingbird, or, you know, or Huckleberry fin, or whatever else they get. So we have to push that out there, because once that snowball effect start happening, it's gonna mean something. And if in a couple of weeks from now we hit it twofold, we always concerned about Brother Jamal and his mom, whichever way they do. That's what me and Brother Jim have been saying from day one. He puts things out there, but she ultimately has to make the decision. And as Brother Hassan said, because she's listening to him, he feels as though he can handle it. Then a lot of us know I'm not here to force him to do that. I'm thankful that he stood up. And the mere fact he stood up, he's a hero in our book. You know, so we thank Allah for him standing up, being a soldier that he is, because he come up in the Nation of Islam as a young FY, so he was able to deal with it. But I believe that if we start, Brother Juma, no later than tonight, or even say tomorrow, everybody should know how to go on Brother Juma Muhammad's page. And each one of us with the clientele and the people that's in our data should be sharing this. And we're not putting that out wrong. We're putting out actual facts. Actual facts, if this was the poem that they had said they want everybody to read it, let's make sure everybody can read this poem. You know, let's make sure this information is out there. You know, so that's what I think, Brother Jim. We only got about 10 more minutes, so whatever you think.
So Brother Shaheed, that poem is readily available to anybody who wants to go on the internet. But what we're going to do, brothers and sisters, this broadcast here, if you go to my Facebook page tomorrow, you'll see this broadcast. You can review it again, particularly if you came in late. You can share it. You can tag people. You can get it all over the country, so people have some idea what's going on at St. Louis University High School. We're not just talking about St. Louis University High School.
Let me jump in with you just 1 second, Brother Jim. It's out there on the internet, but that's not what I'm talking about. If they just look at it on the internet, they see it's out there. It needs to be something on the top saying where this came from and why we're pushing it. If it don't say something about, say for instance, it was John Burroughs High School, or say for instance, it was Vashon High School. If they just see it out there on the internet, that's one thing. But something should be specific saying, this was at the school, such and such a date. This young brother read it, And because of this right here, we found out that this has been going on for 3 years at the school. Other than that, when a person just see it, they don't understand what we're talking about. And this is where we're gonna get other people to jump on board. Now, a lot of them ain't gonna jump on board because they're just not gonna get involved until it affects them. But I believe it should have something with some type of little, piece at the top of that poem saying what has happened. Not no lot. Don't need to be no lot. Just enough to the caption that's gonna catch their attention.
Absolutely. So, brothers and sisters, we have 9 minutes. Brother Sean Nichols, I see you've come on. That you want to kind of weigh in, introduce yourself, kind of weigh in. We got literally 9 minutes. Whatever you want to do. And then I don't want to forget about you.
Greetings, everybody. I'm just here to suck up some knowledge, and happy to see everybody.
Sounds good, Brother Sean. Sounds good. Anything else? I don't want to cut you off. Anything else? Good to see you too, brother.
Got a question, because I went to your website, Brother Ajuma, and I'm looking at it and I see your books and stuff like that, and I see this Ghana initiative. What are we giving back to our communities? I understand Ghana is Ghana, but what are we giving back to our communities? We're dealing with the racism here in America. I'm just looking at that.
That's a great question. Most of us on this Zoom line have probably given 35, 40 years of our personal committed service to our community through mentoring, through counseling, through group experiences, through street patrols, through working with families of murdered victims, the whole nine. The list goes on and on and on and on. Trust me. All of us on this phone line, I started the African American Role Model Program, group homes, the whole 9 yards. So trust me. But you can speak to me personally, and we can go into it in greater detail because we don't have time. I want to give everybody maybe 30 seconds because we got.
I definitely would like to do that because I have questions.
Okay, so so you can message me on Facebook and we can, dialogue and have a conversation. But it's we got 8 minutes. I want to give everybody like a final statement or remarks. You got 8 minutes, so you can't be long. Anybody?
This is Brother Hassan. As I said, please Google the name Nadine Burke Harris, Dr. Nadine Burke Harris. She has a wealth of information for us to use to begin healing and understanding the trauma and effects that it has on us.
How you spell Nadine, Brother Hassan?
Nadine, Nadine, and you can also YouTube her as well.
Nadine Burke Harris.
Yes, yes.
B-E-R.
B-U-R-K-H-A-R-R-I-S. Nadine Burke, B-U-R-K-E Harris.
Can you, as you said she's on YouTube, can you put a video of her in the chat and we can grab that?
Oh, that's fine.
Well, I will say this. If there's any healing that's going to take place, it's going to take place with us. Because I don't believe that two people who are opposed to each other or psychologically contrary to each other can heal together. And I believe that if we're going to heal our community and move our community forward, that we need to do something for ourselves. Working in the institutions from the social work part, clinical social work, and from the educational part, yeah, we are traumatized. But always remember, the perpetrator does not get to sit in the therapeutic session with the victim. So if some man rapes a woman, the man do not get to sit in the therapeutic session with the woman and heal with the woman. Even if a woman goes to an abuse shelter, you notice there's no man's work at the abuse shelter. It's all women. So I'm saying that for us to heal and move forward as a people, we need to turn inward to ourselves and do something for ourselves to heal ourselves. Because if we expect them to do it, we'll be waiting a long time and it still won't get done. Thank you.
Let me, Mr. Teddy Love, did you want to say something? Or I want to give you an opportunity. Mr. Love, Teddy Love. Okay, he's in the chat room, so no worries. Anybody else, y'all? We have literally 5 minutes.
I would
Jamal.
just like to say to the mothers, to the parents of these young gentlemen, to just make sure that they do wellness check-ins with them every single day. If it's no more than just asking them how they're doing. And for the young man that's at home, try not to be so isolated. You know, have conversations with your parents, have conversation with your aunts, people that you can trust, and really be able to express what you're feeling and what you're thinking, because that is going to take him a long way when he decides to go back into the classroom.
Okay, Dr. Fahima.
Closing comments. To remind everybody to acknowledge what's going on, to love yourself, honor yourself, and respect yourself enough to do the work. Each one of us has a responsibility to do the work. If you're not doing the work, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. Our educational system is very challenging. And every single day that I wake up, I have the opportunity to work with individuals and prepare individuals that are going into the system to remind them that they have a responsibility when they are working with culturally and linguistically diverse students to put those students first, do what's in the best interest of those students, and create a culture and a climate that's conducive to teaching and learning. If the culture and climate is not conducive to teaching and learning will not and cannot take place. The self-work you have to do, as Brother Amir said, is very, very important. And that's challenging as well, because some of us are not in a state of mind to even begin to recognize and acknowledge what's going on with ourselves. So you got to sit down and you've got to be still, and you've got to listen to the inner voice that's talking to you. Your inner voice is going to tell you what it is that you need to do. We have a responsibility.
I got to cut you, Dr. Fahima. You're giving me the dissertation. Sophia, give me 30 seconds. Alima, 30 seconds. We'll close out with Jamal, and Shaheed will have you close us out in prayer. So, Sophia, you want to give me 30 seconds?
Well, I'm just happy that I was invited and I put my input, and we just need to come up with these solutions and make them do what they need to do. They have never had a heart of gold. We've always made them do what they need to do.
Gotcha. Alima?
Well, I just wanted to say my goal as a life coach has always been able to being able to develop the stamina to deal with these situations that occur in a daily life. And I just want to let you know that, Jamal, that we're here to support you.
Okay, so Jamal and Mom, if y'all could take 1 minute, then we'll have Shaheed close us out in prayer.
Yes, we thank you, Sister Lima. We just wanted to thank everybody for support, and I want to support you and support all the other students and the families, and that we may come together in unity to make our community better for our children.
Yes, I want to thank everyone. I especially want to thank Brother Shaheed. He has been with me and my mother this whole, with this problem in St. Louis University High School. And I just want to thank everybody.
I love it. I love it. Brother Jim, I pass it over to you. Once you close out whatever final words, and you close us out with prayer, please. I pass it to you, Brother Jim.
You're gonna pass it to me, huh? Okay, I got right at 7:59. So I would, before I say a short prayer, Jamal, I would encourage you to be strong, to persevere. And this is just a microcosm of the real world, of the bigger world that you'll soon be walking into. And so, Mom, I encourage you to be strong and steadfast, and keep your eye on the prize, and also know that you got options, and also know that this community supports you, and anything that we can do to kind of help during this turbulent time in his life, we're there for you. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna just close with a short prayer. I want to thank each and every one of you all for your time. I think the 2 hours went by really, really fast, and what everybody had to say was very poignant and on point. We have a prayer line. I'll say this: we have a prayer line tomorrow. Please look at my Facebook page. Strongly encourage you guys to call in. We call it the hour of power opportunity, where you can recharge your batteries and hear other community voices weigh in. And then we have a spiritual message as well. You don't have to be a Muslim. You can just keep an open mind. And so I'll post that on my Facebook page as well. So bow your head and just pray real quick. So, who the beloved Rajim, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful, we give testimony to that one God to whom praises are forever due. I thank you, Almighty God, for each one of the participants on the Zoom line. I pray that we can come together as a community and support Brother Jamal and his mother and do the things that are pleasing in your sight. Amen. I thank you all for your time, brothers and sisters.
Make sure they know that's 12 noon tomorrow. That way they'll know 12 noon St. Louis time, that information that you're gonna give out. But 12, make sure they go to your page 12 noon tomorrow. They should be on the phone with us.
Central Standard Time tomorrow, brothers and sisters. Call in, it's free, it's very powerful. And tell other people about it.
Put it on your page.
I will. Thank you all for your time.
Assalamu alaikum.
Blessed day.
Thank you.
I love you all.
Love you all. Allah Akbar.
Allah.
Take care.
Okay, take care.